music. No contact, the dark psychology of no contact with women. Have you ever been in a situation where you've tried everything to get a woman's attention, but nothing seems to work? You're sending the messages, making the calls, doing all the right things, but still the results just aren't what you hoped for. It's frustrating, it's confusing, and in some cases it can leave you feeling like you've hit a dead end. But what if I told you there's one psychological strategy that could dramatically change the dynamic? A strategy that seems counterintuitive, yet has the power to make women take notice and even begin to pursue you. That strategy is known as no contact. In today's video, we're diving deep into the dark psychology behind the no contact rule, and we'll explore how and why this method can be so powerful, especially when it comes to navigating relationships with women before we start. What is no contact? Let's clarify exactly what the no contact rule is and why it works. What is no contact? The no contact rule in its simplest form means exactly what it sounds like. You stop reaching out, texting, calling, or trying to engage with someone entirely in a relationship context. This typically applies when things aren't going the way you expected, or if a woman has pulled away, lost interest, or even ended things, you completely cut off communication with her. But here's the thing. The no contact rule isn't just about cutting ties. It's about using silence as a powerful psychological tool to trigger an emotional response. And when you understand the dark psychology behind it, you'll realize that silence has the potential to speak louder than any message you could send. Now let's break down exactly why this approach works so well. The power of absence. The power of absence. Why absence makes the heart grow fonder. Most fundamental aspects of the no contact rule is that it plays on one of the most basic human psychological triggers. Absence makes the heart grow fonder when you're always available, constantly texting and reaching out. You're sending the message that you're easy to get, always there, and in some ways a bit predictable. While this might feel comforting in the moment, it doesn't create any space for mystery or excitement. But when you disappear for a while, whether it's hours, days, or weeks, you create a void. That void is something the other person can ignore. The absence of your presence begins to trigger a sense of longing. They start to wonder what you're doing, if you're okay, if you've moved on, or if they're missing out on something. This creates an emotional imbalance, and without even realizing it, they're mentally and emotionally pulled back into your orbit. The power of absence is not just about making someone miss you. It's about forcing them to confront the possibility of losing you too. The fear of losing something. The fear of losing something valuable. Scarcity and perceived value valuable. The no contact rule taps into the psychological concept of scarcity. People place higher value on things they perceive as scarce or hard to get. When you're always available, you signal that you're not scarce at all. You're easily accessible, and subconsciously, people take that for granted. But when you go silent, you create a sense of scarcity. It's not about playing games, it's about demonstrating that you value your time and energy. You're not just going to give yourself to anyone who doesn't appreciate you. For women, this can trigger a fear of loss. As the saying goes, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. When you disappear, they're confronted with the reality that they may have lost something valuable. They start to realize that they can't have you whenever they want, and that fear of losing you can be a very powerful motivator to get them to act 3, creating emotional investment, making her think and reflect investment. One of the reasons the no contact rule works is because it forces the other person to think deeply about the relationship. When you're always there, they don't have to put in much emotional effort. They know that no matter what, you'll always be available to pick up the pieces or respond to their needs. However, when you stop communicating, they're forced to invest emotionally. They begin to wonder what went wrong, where things went off track, and why you suddenly stopped being available. This process of wondering, worrying, and reflecting forces them to invest time and emotional energy into the relation, something they may not have been doing previously. That emotional investment can reignite attraction and even increase their desire for you, because now they have skin in the game. They're no longer getting you for free. They're having to work for your attention. 4. The power, self-respect, and boundaries. The attraction of confidence and standards of self-respect and boundaries at the core of the no contact rule is a powerful psychological principle. Self-respect when you stop chasing someone or tolerating poor treats. Settle for less than you deserve. This can be incredibly attractive to women. It shows that you have high standards and that you value yourself enough not to tolerate anything that undermines your worth. Women, just like anyone else, are drawn to people who respect themselves. It's a form of leadership and confidence that signals you are someone who is in control of their life and emotions. When you implement the no contact rule, you're setting a boundary that tells her, I'm not here to beg for attention. I'm here to offer value, and if that's not appreciated, I'll move on. This draws her back into a state of respect for you, which can be a very powerful tool in rekindling interest. 5. Manipulation of cognitive dissonance. How silence challenges her assumptions. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the psychological discomfort that arises when someone's beliefs, actions, or emotions are inconsistent in the context of no contact. This theory comes into play when the person on the deceiving end of the silence experiences a conflict between their feelings and their behavior. Let's say she's pulling away from you or has shown little interest. She may tell herself that she doesn't care, that she's fine without you, and that you don't matter. But when you stop reaching out, her actions, her lack of communication, begin to contradict what she's been telling herself. She may start to feel uncomfortable with the idea of you being gone. This discomfort creates an emotional tension that forces her to either confront her feelings or ignore them either way. The psychological friction makes her think more about you, which works in your favor before we proceed. If you find value in this video, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us grow and makes you an integral part of our journey, and we deeply appreciate your contribution. Now let's return to our discussion. 6. Restoring the balance of power. Regaining control in the relationship. Restoring the balance of power in any relationship. There is a natural and flow of power when you're constantly pursuing someone, whether it's through texts, calls, or attempts to meet up. You put yourself in a position of lower power. It's like you're waiting for their approval or validation. The no contact rule restores the power balance by going silent. You're not chasing. You're allowing her to come to you if she values you. This shift in power dynamics can be incredibly attractive. Because it demonstrates that you're not desperate for her attention. You're confident and independent enough to walk away if necessary. This subtle shift in power can lead her to respect you more, as she begins to see you as someone who is not just available on demand, but as someone who holds the key to their emotional connection. Number 7, the fear of uncertainty. Triggering emotional tension and longing. Uncertainty is one of the most powerful psychological forces in human behavior. When you're always present, there's little room for uncertainty. Everything is predictable. She knows you'll be there waiting for her. But when you pull away, you introduce an element of uncertainty into the dynamic. This uncertainty can cause anxiety. She starts to wonder if you're really gone for good. Has something changed? Is this a permanent shift? Is she losing you? The lack of clarity creates emotional chaos. It forces her to confront the possibility that you're no longer available, which in turn causes her to feel anxious and unsettled. This anxiety and uncertainty can trigger an emotional response that makes her realize just how much she values your presence in her life. This is the dark psychology of no contact. It capitalizes on emotional tension and uncertainty to rekindle interest number 8, the power of control and self-awareness. Building emotional discipline of control and self-awareness. The no contact rule is not about manipulation. It's about self-control and creating a sense of clarity. It forces both parties to step back and reassess their behavior, emotions and intentions. When you stop chasing and leave the ball in her court, you are sending a clear message that you are not desperate for validation, attention, or approval. This shift in control can be incredibly empowering for you. The act of taking a step back is a conscious decision, one that shows you are self-aware enough to recognize that you deserve more than just being an afterthought. It's an act of emotional discipline that proves you can stand on your own without constantly seeking external validation from someone else. By not allowing your emotions to dictate your actions, you present yourself as someone who has their life together and is fully capable of thriving, regardless of the outcome of the relationship. This level of emotional strength and awareness is not only attractive, but also extremely powerful in maintaining healthy boundaries in any relationship. 9. Challenging her. Challenging her assumptions. Shifting, he inadvertently validate their assumptions about us, that we're willing to give our time, energy, and emotions without expecting much in return. This leads to a dangerous cycle where they take your presence for granted, assuming they have all the power and you'll always be there whenever they decide they want your attention. When you employ the no contact rule, you challenge these assumptions, you shift the narrative from them thinking they're in control of the situation to realizing that you are a person of value who cannot be easily taken for granted. By not contacting her, you force her to confront her behavior and reevaluate her perceptions about you. This challenge to her assumptions can be eye-opening. It makes her think about whether she's been too dismissive, whether she's been unfair, or whether she's taken you for granted. This reflection can shift her attitude and perception of the relationship, making her reconsider what she truly wants. The law of reciprocity. How absence can motivate her to reconnect. 10. The law of reciprocity in psychology. The law of reciprocity states that when someone does something for you, you naturally feel an urge to reciprocate by cutting off communication and going silent. You're creating a psychological imbalance that forces her to want to make up for it. She may feel the need to reach out first to restore some sense of equilibrium in the relationship. This isn't about playing games, but rather about understanding in human nature. When you stop giving all the time, you introduce a balance. It's a subtle nudge that encourages her to recognize your absence and do something to bridge the gap. When she reaches out, she's reciprocating the emotional energy you've pulled back. This principle of reciprocity works because it taps into the social and emotional wiring of human beings. We tend to feel the need to return what we've been given. When you've stopped giving, she may feel obligated to return the favor. And that's when the emotional power of the no contact rule really kicks in. 11. Cultivating a sense. Mystery and attraction. The role of curiosity in rekindling interest of mystery. Mystery is a powerful psychological tool and one that's often underappreciated. When you're constantly available, there's nothing left to the imagination. There's no space for curiosity. But by going silent, you instantly create a sense of mystery. She may wonder what you're doing, who you're talking to, and whether or not you're still thinking about her. This mystery draws her in. It makes her want to know more, to figure out where you stand and to piece together what might be happening in your life. Mystery, when used wisely, can elevate your perceived value because it triggers a natural curiosity, something that for many people leads to a stronger attraction. 12. Psychological detachment. Emotional detachment and clarity. Gaining perspective through silence and emotional clarity. The no contact rule also has the unique ability to help both parties gain emotional clarity. When you stop communicating, you create emotional detachment that gives both individuals the space they need to think clearly often. When we're too emotionally invested in a situation, it clouds our judgment and makes it hard to see things from a rational perspective. By taking a break and giving yourself and her space, you allow for emotional clarity to take root. She's no longer caught up in the rush of day-to-day interactions, and you're able to reassess your own emotions and needs. This clarity can help you make better decisions moving forward and can lead to a more balanced and rational approach to the relationship. 13. The psychological reactance. Theory. Why people act when their freedom is restricted. Principle of reactance. Reactant. Theory suggests that when people perceive their freedom to choose is being restricted, they're likely to act in the opposite direction to regain their lost autonomy in the context of the no contact rule. When you withdraw your attention, you're essentially restricting her ability to contact you or keep you around whenever she wants. This restriction creates psychological reactance, which can be a powerful motivator for her to reach out. Reactant triggers a desire to regain control over the situation, and in many cases, it prompts people to act against their initial instincts, in this case by trying to reconnect with you. This principle of reactant helps explain why when you stop contacting someone, they often feel compelled to take the initiative elves. It's not about manipulation, it's about understanding how people behave when they feel they've lost control or access to something. Their conclusion. The purpose and power of the no contact rule want. Conclusion. The no contact rule isn't just a game, it's a powerful psychological tool that can be used to reset the emotional dynamics of a relationship. It taps into fundamental human emotions like fear, longing, scarcity, and respect, which can dramatically shift the way a woman views you by going silent. You're not be.